life has been incredibly difficult for the past 3 weeks. And in that time, my TikTok has just like exploded. So I want to say, like, welcome to all my new friends. So glad you're here. If you found me from the English paper piecing video or the video of me talking about my daughter's medical equipment, I'm really glad you're here. Welcome. I'm literally still in my pajamas, but my goal today was to make a video, and so I just thought I'd get on here and talk a little bit. So 3 weeks ago, I finished my master's degree. Yay. I say finish, like I finished all my coursework, everything is completely done, but I still have to take my comps in October. That is my last requirement. I passed my comps, I have to do an interview portion, and then I will be granted my master's degree. So that was amazing. I'm so proud of myself, but I feel like that was like the start of the really hard couple of weeks, and I just kept telling myself that once I finish this coursework I can like come up for air, but that has proven to not be true. I'm just going to tell you TLDR version because we would be here all day if I truly told you everything that was going on. But essentially, on August 1st, we picked up my daughter's wheelchair, which, if you watched my video, was just like a few dollars short of $19,000. And then insurance called me literally on my way home from picking up the wheelchair, telling us that, well, it wasn't insurance, it was my daughter's medical supply company, and telling us that our insurance was no longer active. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'll try and figure it out, but I have no clue what you're talking about. Anyways, whilst driving home with a $19,000 wheelchair in the back of my car that I just learned had not been paid for, my car starts to die on the interstate. And I have a 2019 Toyota Sienna. We bought this vehicle specifically knowing that my daughter would be getting a wheelchair and that we would need to have a vehicle that could transport quite a bit of medical supplies with us so that she could use her gait trainer if she needed it. She could use her wheelchair if she needed it. Like, we bought this with the intention of having the wheelchair. And literally the day I'm picking up the wheelchair and driving home, I'm already really stressed out, learning that it might have not have possibly been paid for. And stressed because, like, what the hell's going on with our insurance? I have no clue, you know? And my car starts dying. And so it dies 6 times on the way home. And that's really stress inducing, okay? I'm sure you know that. But my thought the entire time is that I have a $19,000 piece of medical equipment in the back of my car that has not been paid for, allegedly. And I'm going to get rear ended on the interstate, you know? And so, anyways, we get home, stressed to the max. And then my husband calls me. My husband's a mailman, and he tells me that his vehicle, which he is a rural carrier, which means that we provide the vehicle and the post office reimburses us for it. It's a long story, but like, we own the vehicle. If something happens, it's our responsibility. He pulled off to do something and turned around, and there was just transmission fluid leaking out all over the ground. Yay. I actually have a backup vehicle for him for the mail route, but it has been down for about a month because it's also having lots of issues, and it's just been really hard with those things. Then I talked to the medical supply company in the afternoon about her wheelchair, and they're like, "No, we got it. We verified the insurance. It's showing active. It's good." Okay, that was Friday. Then we go through the weekend. Monday happens. They call me back and they say, "Hey, actually, we forgot to actually submit the rest of the stuff on that day when insurance was showing active and finish the processing of it. And now your insurance is for sure showing inactive." So I call insurance, I figure it out, and come to find out my husband was promoted within his job at the post office, and they submitted paperwork showing that he was terminated from his current role, but HR did not submit the paperwork showing his other role. And so, in the eyes of our insurance, he was fired, which is really great when you have a child with cerebral palsy who has to have insurance. Okay. And it just keeps getting better. Stick with me. So then Tuesday night, we went to go pick up my car. They can't figure out what's wrong with it. We pick up my car, we come home, and I pull in the drive maybe 2 minutes before my husband. He has the kids in his car, following me home in his car. And I'm in our house. I had just gotten in the house, and he comes running in with our 3-year-old who is lethargic and purple, and she's having a seizure. And so, and this is not normal for her. Our child has cerebral palsy. She has had infantile spasms. Last time we had any concerns of seizures was August of 2023, but she is very clearly having a seizure. Immediately begins profusely vomiting. She was clearly in a post-ictal state, and we have to call 911. 911 responds. When they get here, we put her on oxygen. Her oxygen was very low. We make the decision to transport. We get her transported, taken to the hospital, and she continues to have clustering of seizures for almost 3 hours before we were able to get control of them. So we spent Tuesday night in the emergency room. We're admitted to the PICU at 2 a.m. We monitored most of the next day in the PICU, and we were able to step down to the pediatric med surg floor the next day, but they wanted her to stay admitted because she was, oh, I forgot to add that in the ambulance they had put an oxygen mask on her while they were looking for nasal cannulas. They did not have very good pediatric supplies, and when that happened, she began profusely vomiting and aspirated on her vomit. I ripped that mask off her so fast, flung vomit all over the ambulance. Yeah. So, anyways, she was stepped down to the med surg floor, and about 7:45 that evening, she starts clustering with seizures again. And as the parents, we have to be vocal and say, well, we're here admitted for seizures. And she hasn't had any seizure medication today. Like, you guys they gave her a loading dose of Keppra, if you're familiar with this. They gave her a loading dose of Keppra when we were in the emergency room. But the whole next day when we were in the PICU and until 7:45 that last night, I guess nobody ordered medication for her. So, and we didn't know, like, it's not my job as a medical professional. When I hear loading dose, I assume that means that, like, that's my understanding of a loading dose was that it's like a ton of medication for her seizures. So she got a loading dose of Keppra. And my understanding is that's like a really big amount. So I had no clue, like, we're in the hospital. I'm trusting the medical professionals to make the decisions and ensure that my daughter gets the care that she needs. Anyways, she started clustering at 7:45. We brought that to their attention that the only medicine she'd had for her seizures was the loading dose in the emergency room. They were like, oh my God, that's a big error on our part. Let us get that to her. She clustered until about 9 o'clock when they administered the medicine, and she immediately stopped clustering at 9:30 when she was able to go to sleep. Seizures stopped, yada yada. We spent that night in the hospital. That was Wednesday night. And then Thursday, we spent all day in the hospital, but we made the decision that we were able to get her fever under control. She definitely has aspiration pneumonia now, but her lungs were looking okay. And just keep in mind, my daughter was born at 23 weeks and 5 days. She was 1 pound, 9 ounces. 24 weeks is viability for babies inside their mother's womb. And she did not even reach that. We were 2 days shy. So my daughter is very concerning in regard to her lungs. So aspiration pneumonia is not something we ever want to be looking out for any child, but certainly a child like her. It's Saturday. We were able to come home Thursday evening. She fell asleep in the car on the way home, and then I had to wake her up to transfer her into the house and do her medication and things like that. And so then she cried and cried and cried. She's just exhausted. Her body is worn out, and so are the rest of us. But today is Saturday. I have a lot of things I need to get done. I have so many requirements in my life that I cannot, it's really hard for me to just take 3 or 4 days and focus on myself. I'm thankful that I have a job that was able to pick up the slack and cover me while I was gone. I did not have to worry about my job, and I am like insanely grateful for that. But there's other things in my life that I really need to get back going. So we're going to get started on that today. So I'm still in my pajamas, if you can't tell. I'm going to go change out of my pajamas. I'm going to order me something for lunch because I am starving. My daughter needs some medication. I'm going to pass her antibiotics to her. I was giving them to her in the morning, but now I'm going to have to separate them out because she is intentionally they smell awful, but she is gagging so hard that she is throwing them up sometimes. And so we were giving them in conjunction with her seizure meds, but I cannot risk those seizure meds not being in her stomach and in her system, and like fully have hit her and her start throwing up because of other medication. So I'm going to get out of my pajamas, pass her antibiotics to her, and then I've got to get some stuff done around my house. So that is the plan for today. I hope your weeks have been a lot better than mine. But as I said, I just wanted to say hi. I promised I would like to post more consistently. I would like to, there's so many questions about how to finish the back of the English paper piece quilt that I talked about. And like, I want to answer those questions. I really do. I just like am living life and it's really hard right now. So thank you for being here. I'm going to go get some lunch. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday.